Right back here on the Seth Williams Show with Mike Jaselka and comedian Bill Stone joins us.
Hey,
Bill, how you
hey,
doing?
Hey, what's up, guys?
how you doing, buddy?
Is it better if I go sideways on the
Yes,
screen?
yes.
Let's see here. Let's mess with this for a second.
See, the Earth is round.
There we
There
go.
you go.
Let's see there. You want to look up my nose? Oh, there we go.
There you are.
Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
Oh, let's see which way is my camera? There we are.
What are you drinking?
How's it going, Seth? How's it going, Mike? How's it going, Chris?
What
Good.
are you drinking?
Makers and tonic water.
Yeah, well,
It seems to be everybody that comes on the show drinks. That's cool.
we had to stop Mike from drinking
Happy
because
hour.
then he started yelling at everybody. One time he was drinking, he thought the Earth was flat.
No, never been that drunk. So, right off the bat, in addition to being a damn good comic in your own right, you've lent yourself and thrown your hat in the ring and working real close with Jay, promoting this, doing the artwork. That poster that everybody saw was your handiwork. But you're part of what's going on in East Palestine too, and that show is only a couple weeks away, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. April 11th will be the kickoff show, and I'll be on that one. I'd actually just performed in East Palestine a week and a half before the train derailment for their fire department.
Yeah.
They do an annual dinner at their fire department, and I used to be an EMT paramedic myself. And one of the people who works for their fire department, she got a hold of me pre-pandemic and asked me to put on a comedy show for their annual dinner. And we did it, and they had a great time. And then this year, they got a hold of me last year, and they're like, "Hey, can we do it again?" Everybody's, everybody's starting to do stuff again. And one of the comics I tour with is Mark Price, the guy who plays Skippy for Family Ties. So me and him both came in there and we did that show for him. We had a blast. And then here it is a week and a half later, and all hell breaks loose in East Palestine. And everybody from that fire department, including several other adjacent departments as well, came in to work on that situation. And it's a lot they had to deal with.
Did you say that you tour with Skippy from Family Ties?
Yeah.
All right, you're my new hero. I mean, that was like my favorite show as a kid growing up. I didn't even know he was still alive. So that's really cool to hear that he's actually touring. You guys tour together doing comedy. That's awesome.
Yeah, we've been working together for a few years now. He whenever he comes around like Ohio, PA, or these areas, we work and tour together. We just he was just in town last week with me, staying over here, and we did a show in Niles, Medina, and then he flew back to California. But yeah, he stays over here at my house when he comes in town. It's interesting.
I can share a little bit of trivia, Seth. When we met, the first organizational meeting I remember with Bill and with Jay, Bill said that after he presented and told Mark Skippy what we were doing and what the show was going to be involved, that Mark actually made the first donation to the cause. So
That's
Yeah.
cool.
it was pretty
Cool.
stand up by him too.
Yeah, he sells he already all his merchandise he sells are shirts from him. Basically they're shirts with him and Michael J. Fox on it from Family Ties, and all the shirts he sells, he donates all the proceeds from his shirts to the Michael J. Fox Foundation to raise money for Parkinson's. And from time to time, if there's another thing that he finds more precedent for at the time, like East Palestine. The night we did the show out in Niles, all the money we brought in from the T-shirt sales for that night, he donated to East Palestine, and it'll be getting sent over to the way station.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So do you tour around all over the country, or you just mainly do Ohio stuff? Or what do you What's your story?
I just came back from California myself a couple of weeks ago. I just came back from California myself a couple of weeks ago. Like in New York, it's probably the most I've ever spent to do stand up. I mean, we it's like sometimes like I've only been doing it for almost 5 years now, and I do tour a lot. I tour a lot of the East Coast, places like down in Myrtle Beach at the Comedy Cabana, and I've been over to New York, over to the Producers Club, and I've been in like Comic Strip Live, and then I've been over here in, like throughout Ohio, like the Funny Farm out in Youngstown, Funny Stop Comedy Club in Cuyahoga Falls. That's my home club. And I just last week I was just over in Waterford, Michigan at One Night Stands. But I do a lot of clubs here on the East Coast, and I'm just starting to branch out to the West Coast. And with doing that, you know, sometimes it's going to be less profit and more expenditure just to kind of get yourself out there and, you know, and make a name for yourself. So
that's pretty cool. Now I got to ask a favor.
Huh?
I got to ask a little bit of a favor. So next time you go on the West Coast, you know, if Trump is in any kind of trouble, you need to take Mike with you on this tour. So that way I don't have to deal with him for a couple of weeks. You can take him out to the West Coast and hang out and do your comedy stuff, and I don't have to deal with Mike for a couple of weeks.
Oh, I'm going to Florida here at the beginning of June. I could always dump him off at Mar-a-Lago for you.
There you go. He would love that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be around West Palm Beach beginning of June, doing a couple shows. One of the ones I'm doing, I'm gonna be working with Greg Hahn from the Bob and Tom Show. I'm looking forward to that. And then on top of that, I'll be trying to get in some other clubs down there. And I'm going to take the time. I do a lot of these too, to take the time to visit friends and family that I haven't seen in a while. I got a lot of family down in Florida that I haven't seen in ages. So that'll be good. Like we had family over in California when we went over to California. Cool. And stayed with them in Marina Del Rey. So that makes it nice too for traveling. Is if you have some place to crash when you're doing this, it can help out immensely.
Yeah, I know that back in the day where I used to do a lot of interviews with comedians, they'd come to town and they'd stay at some they'd be doing the Improv down in the flats, and then they would stay at some little apartment that they had rented out for comedians, for the comics, and they would be so miserable because they had nothing to fucking do the entire time they were here, and all they did was sit in a damn apartment and just sleep all day long. How is it like being on the road? Is it fun or is it not?
I guess I still have a bit of a jaded look on it because I'm newer at it, so I enjoy being out, Plus, I would say that in the old days before cell phones and internet and access to everything, that if you got stuck in a comedy condo somewhere and you didn't have a rental car or anything like that, you were kind of screwed. Now I could see where it could be boring as hell. But one of the things I do, I drive to I'm going to be driving down to Florida. I take my SUV with me. I throw an air mattress in the back of it. I have a black membership to Planet Fitness. I will literally go park out at a Planet Fitness at the front of the building where the lights are on. I'll sleep out of my car there because there's security there and they're open 24/7. And then I'll just go inside, work out, use a shower, sit on their couch, use the Wi-Fi. It's a great makeshift drop spot, and because those things are everywhere.
Jay says the Funny Stop condo is 5-star. Yeah, you have no idea, Seth, how many times probably Jay, Bill, and I have pulled into comedy condos, and you walk in the bathroom and you can see through the bath towel.
I'll be honest, the Funny Stop has updated theirs recently, and it looks really, really nice. Yeah, they put in some work on their condo recently. Probably the nicest condo I ever stayed in, though, was in Myrtle Beach for the Comedy Cabana. The owners there, they're wonderful people, and they put me up in their condo for. I was 8 shows over 6 days, and I took my wife down with me because why not? It was like a second vacation. But the condo was gorgeous, and I also I learned something while I was down there. One of the first days I was there, we went out to the beach, and I came back, and I had hung my towel out on the back of the condo, the patio. It was on your second floor. I put my towel over the back patio, and throughout the day, I had couples stopping over at the condo all day long. introducing themselves and asking if we wanted to hang out and stuff. And I'm like, wow, maybe they put out like a, hey, this is the person who's staying in the condo this week. Everybody be friendly to them. It wasn't until the third couple came over and we were like, listen, we just don't feel like doing anything right now. And they're like, well, if you're going to do that, why don't you take your pineapple and take it off the back porch? Because I didn't realize I had a towel with a large pineapple on it hung upside down off the back patio. Do you know what an upside down pineapple is?
Yeah, it's an invitation.
Well, we learned a lesson that week. And I also learned out I missed out on a lot of fun, apparently turning those people away.
You did.
All right, so I think a lot of people don't know what an upside down pineapple is. Mike, Bill?
It means you're swingers.
See, yep. I have 3 of them hanging outside my house, but I've never had anybody come over and say they wanted to party.
Turn them upside down.
Yeah. If you ever go to a grocery store and you see somebody walking around with a shopping cart with an upside down pineapple in the basket, they're on the hunt.
See, you said I'm sure you're happily married, but why would you take? That'd be the last place I would take my wife is on the tour on the road if I'm a comedian.
Actually, that's the nice part about it because my wife works from home remotely, and our goal is in the next few years for me to be out on the road on a consistent basis, and she'll be able to come with me to a lot of stuff and just work remotely, and that way she's not. We've been together like 27 years, so I'm in what do they call it in poker? I'm pot committed. I'm not going anywhere.
There you go. And the other thing is too, I can't tell you. Years ago when I was a road comic, gas was cheap, but I'd get in the car and drive from Boston to Salt Lake City and then Seattle and back to St. Louis. There is so much to see. And a lot of times you can't appreciate it unless you share it with somebody, because otherwise you try to tell them what it's like to stand at the Grand Canyon if they've never seen it. Or, I've been to all 50 state capitals. It doesn't mean anything to anybody but me, but it's pretty cool that I've seen all 50 state capitol buildings. And there's still plenty of that stuff out there. And there's all kinds of great restaurants. I think I've said this on the air before. If you're ever up in Montana touring, Bill, you're going to get in Billings and Helena, and you're going to get some of the best Chinese food you've ever had in your life. Because 160 years ago, when they brought all the Chinese people over to work on the Transcontinental Railroad, they didn't integrate into society. They lived and stayed in Chinatown. And the food there has been passed down from generation to generation, and it rivals anything you're going to get in New York or San Francisco.
But yeah, I definitely, if I can drive, I will take driving over flying any day. Not that I have anything against flying, though I really am not a huge fan of it. But one of the reasons I like to drive too is, like, when I leave for Florida, I'm gonna plan along that way. I'm gonna leave several days early, and I'm going to make it a point to stop by different clubs and venues along the way to not only introduce myself, but to go to ones that I've currently been to down south. And, because I feel that patronizing places that you've been to before, I think if they could see your face physically and not just a phone call, that they appreciate that a lot more.
And you know what's going to serve you really well during that, Bill, is you are not too egotistical or proud to MC a good show and hold a show.
I love it.
So when you have the ability to walk up and take a moment's notice, one quick, cheap little past experience, but I went to Salt Lake City one time and the teachers were on strike, and it's the first time in 200 years that the teachers had ever been on strike. Well, I'm in the hotel. I read the newspaper that was in the lobby. And when I walked up on stage, there was a group of 8 women sitting around this table. And I said, I didn't know if it was a bachelor party or whatever, or bachelorette party or whatever. And I said, what brings you here tonight? And they said, oh, we're all teachers. And I said, oh, good. Then I could do 4 or 5 hours. You don't care. You don't have to go to work tomorrow. The mere fact that I knew the teachers were on strike ingratiated me with the entire audience. I had a great show just because I knew where I was. Yeah,
it always it definitely does to do your research, to learn. Like one of my jokes that's in my act regularly, I do this great joke about edibles, because one of the first times I tried it was because of the people we were doing it with. It all became from the fact that they were going to Michigan for a concert, and they were excited because apparently, marijuana in Michigan is 100% legal as far as not only just medical but recreational as well. And they're like, so we're going to go there and we're going to try it. And we were like, oh, that's, my wife's like, that sounds like a great idea. And I'm like, whoa, 27 years, you've never mentioned the fact that you wanted to, try edibles. And that led to a whole conversation of a kind of our first, adventure into trying it with our friends. But I had that, in the back of my mind. And then last year I went and volunteered and helped out over at the Motor City Comedy Festival in Detroit. And which, if you ever get a chance to help out with a comedy festival, I'm on the board for the Rubber City Comedy Festival in Akron, and I have a blast every year working with that. But if you ever get to work at a festival, you just meet so many great people, meet a lot of new venues and other people. But I didn't plan on performing at all that week, just hanging out, meeting people, and helping with the festival. And on the last night, I got thrown on stage, did an entire bit about Michigan and their weed and the edibles and everything, and it was such a good bit that it's been in my act ever since, and it's just grown stronger. Cool. So yeah, sometimes things grow just from knowing your places and your environments and what those people connect to.
Somebody texted in and said they saw people smoking weed downtown Detroit leaving the Browns-Bills game. Yeah, weeds everywhere up there from what I've heard. So what's it like being a comedian? Mike, I don't even know if I've ever asked you this. Do comedians hate other comedians if they're funnier? Do you guys steal jokes? I mean, what's the code of ethics when it comes to being a comedian? Like, if Mike is funnier than you, do you hate him for it or what?
I'm too old for that shit.
No kidding. Yeah.
I just don't know how that works.
It's pretty multifaceted, Seth. It's pretty multifaceted. Sam Kinison used to say back in the day, if anybody, you caught somebody back in the day when there wasn't the internet and cell phones and stuff like that, many times you'd go to a city and you'd catch somebody who featured for you somewhere else doing a joke or 2 years on stage. That kind of stuff happens. But the attitude on that is that's God's way of telling you to write new stuff. If somebody stole, to move on, write another joke. But the only thing I will tell you is it's really hard sometimes with a room or a circle full of comics to get them to laugh out loud, because a comic will look at you and go, that's funny. And in the meantime, think to themselves, oh my God, that was such a brilliant joke. How come I didn't think of it? But you don't hate somebody else for it. You kind of just appreciate their sense of humor and their thing. Bottom line is comedians aren't any different than disc jockeys or construction workers. If you're an asshole, nobody's going to like you. If you're a good guy, you're going to get some respect. If you treat people with respect, you get it back. And it's the same way being on stage too.
Yeah, the important thing with that is you'll notice that it always depends on the person. There's always going to be that person who's super competitive and feels that liking you or enjoying your material is a weakness, which it's not. Like I said, when I mean I'm too old for it, I'm at that point in my life where I'm focused on what I'm going to do and how I'm going to move on. But that doesn't mean I don't support my other friends and other comics. Yeah. And I relish in every bit of the success that they have. But I never see them get an opportunity or something happen to them and get pissed off and be like, well, that should be me. And if I do have that feeling, I'm like, well, then I should make it be me and get that opportunity instead of wasting my energy just pissing about it and being jealous of that person. And so yeah,
that's another thing I wanted to ask though, is that, with you guys or like Kinison or like a Seinfeld or something like that, do you guys sit and write everything down that you want to do as far as jokes go? What do? Do you just come up with something when you're on stage? How's that kind of thing work? Is it like a planned whole thing, or what do you do?
Mine's more of a I do writing, but mine's more of something comes to me, a situation happens, or then a lot of my bits grow from that. But that doesn't mean that I don't focus and attempt on sitting down and actually writing material But if I do, it's either I either physically write it down, I have notebooks, or I will just put it on my phone. Keep a note app on your phone where you could just dictate right to your phone and save those files. Plus, recording yourself at shows is always beneficial, because there's times where I've been in shows and I've come up with something and I've done it on stage and it kills, and it may have been the only time I ever did it. And I will go back to those recordings and then try to like build off of it.
I can't tell you how many times I've sat down and said, "Oh, I'm going to write this morning." And a half a pot of coffee later, I got doodles all over a notepad. And then I got to get in the car and go somewhere. And on the way to where I'm going, all kinds of stuff pops into my head. You can't control when it's coming. You just
like, did Sam Kinison sit down with a notebook and write shit out, or was it something that he just kind of came up and just?
Sam's brilliance was
that he did front to back.
No, he didn't take notes, but my God, I never saw somebody be more in the moment, because he wrote as much on stage. Stuff would come out of his mouth. He'd just riff, go with it, and stuff like that. That was a monologue that just didn't, his head never turned off, man. He was just always thinking about something, and not trying to make people laugh all the time, but asking questions. Part of what makes comedy good comics is the incongruity of the way the world is. That stuff stands out and you can't ignore it. That's like the commercial that's on where that guy, she wants to sell the car, right? She gets out, she's going to go sell the car, and her boyfriend's sitting there going, "Oh, I had plans today. I was going to get a haircut. I was going to get a pedicure. This is going to take all day." And she comes out and gets in the car and says, "I sold the car," and shows him the check. Well, if it's not their car, what is she getting back in it for? It's not her car. That's the stuff that stands out to me like a sore thumb.
Because I guess I was thinking about this the other day when I was watching a Chris Rock special on Netflix, and you see actors and all these kind of people. They can do 35, 100 takes if that's what it takes them to get the lines right and all that. But Chris Rock goes out there for an hour, front to back, doesn't stop, doesn't stutter. And so I have a respect for comedians like you guys to be able to go up on stage and do an entire routine. And it's not like acting. You have one take, and it's your time to be funny, or you're fucked. I mean, that's it.
I'll share one joke with you, Seth, that I can't even do anymore. But when I came up with it, I patted myself on the back because I think it was clever. in Progressive Field, runners on second and third, Jose Ramirez up to the plate, and the organist plays. That's the cavalry charge. We are the Indians. The hell they play that song for? Now, for 100 years being the Indians and 100 games a year being the Indians, nobody ever thought of that but me.
Yeah, I have a respect for what you guys do when it comes to getting on stage and having to, here, go be funny. And you guys are able to do it. I mean, that's cool. And I'm glad you're a part of this charity thing. I think it's going to be awesome. So.
Thank you, Mike. That reminds me of a joke I was working on recently where I was talking about how nowadays, we've been so focused on all of the violence in football, and football has become it's like you can't even brush up against the quarterback anymore.
Right.
Without getting, some kind of penalty call. But yet, apparently, we still don't give an absolute shit about boxing.
Right.
I mean, these guys are going out there and literally getting regular concussions, which makes me think any doctor who would ever approve a boxer after at least a couple matches for a big fight.
Right.
How has that doctor not got a malpractice lawsuit yet?
Thank you.
Just think about it, because they're like, "Oh, what? How many times have you been punched in the head? Yeah, you're good to go get punched in the head some more. Go ahead." But yet, concussion protocol for the football. What? He looked at you tough? Oh, yeah, you got to go sit out a week.
Right. You don't see the referee in a boxing match come out and throw a yellow flag. Hit him right in the face. You got something there.
Well, Bill, I appreciate you coming on tonight, and I appreciate everything you're doing for the charity. Looking forward
Thank you, Seth.
And
to,
on behalf of all the
working with
other
you.
comics, to not only go above and beyond and be part of all the shows, the artwork's really, really good. And the word's getting out, and I'm happy to be part of this with you too. Thanks for coming on.